Hi, Dawn, it's Stu. I see that the congressman is online with us. He's in the gallery.
Okay.
And rather than spending a lot of time reading his bio, I just thought I'd say a couple of introductory remarks and let him have most of the time on the agenda. Does that sound fair?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Hello. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Sharon. How are you?
Sharon. Stu, are you in a cornfield? Oh, no, it's not growing this time of year. That's your background today?
Yeah, I thought I'd play with it because my other background doesn't look too good.
Hey, I like it.
You want to see it?
Yeah, I like the corn though.
Let me see.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Blank wall
Good
there.
Hi,
afternoon,
Frank.
Congressman. How are you?
Very well. I just want to make sure I've heard and everything's good technically.
Yes, we can see you. We can hear you.
Awesome.
Yes, yes, we can.
Well, it's a wonderful day to join you. The sun is shining. It's not too cold. So I'm very excited to be here today.
We are very excited to have you. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Frank, this is Stu Summers. Are you in the region or are you in the district?
Stu, I am in the district. And so we are doing everything that we can to reconnect and be part of it. Have a lot of Zooms and then just slowly meeting in person with social distancing and utilizing our stuff. When do you guys foresee yourselves in the near future? I know Indiana's slowly, cautiously having your meetings in person shortly.
Well, let me introduce you to Dawn Kroger. She's our president and she can answer that question.
Yeah.
We are probably looking at getting together in May. We're going to see how April goes.
It's a smart way of doing things, right?
Right.
As we roll out the vaccinations and everyone, all the age groups are catching up and we're in that place. I think that's a cautious, optimistic way of doing it.
Great.
Well, we have a lot of people joining in. I'm just seeing if any of the people I invited are here. I see one at least.
It is 12:15, so we will begin. Good afternoon, Rotarians. Welcome to the March 29th, 2021 Valparaiso Rotary Club meeting, where we grow diverse leaders for local service and global impact through meaningful and dynamic connections. As we all know, Valparaiso Rotary Club turned 100 this month, and in celebration, we are planning a dinner in the coming months. We have the library ribbon cutting on May 12th. Please RSVP. And a few other activities to highlight the club and its achievements over the past 100 years. So stay tuned. I would like to thank Mary Jo Jamie and Greg Farrell for bringing us together by Zoom today. Now, if you would please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now I will ask Garner Tullis to provide our invocation. Garner?
Hey, Dawn, how are you? I hope everybody had a great spring break. Let's pray. Help each one of us to renew our obligation with a fresh commitment to help others in our community, our nation, and the world. With the influence and blessings you have given us, remind us that charity is much more fulfilling than extravagance. May the golden rule be our yardstick more than any bank account. Help each one of us to do good, to love others, and to serve with a willing heart. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Garner. All right. Do we have any visiting Rotarians or guests?
Yes, let me introduce past district governor, Christina Doherty, sitting beside me.
Greetings.
Hi,
Good to-
Christina.
Our club is not meeting today, so I got to join you. It's good. to
Great,
see-
wonderful. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
I have Barbara Bakos, President of Power Source Transportation.
Welcome, Barb. Thank you,
I have-
Soba. You?
I have James Winters from the Economic Development Administration and Jesse Butts, who's the director of the Porter County Library System.
Welcome, James and Jesse. Great to have you with us.
And I have Dr. Mary Jane Eisenhower, who is professor of early childhood at Purdue Northwest.
Wonderful. Welcome, Mary Jane.
I have Archana Popley, who's a long-term resident and a community volunteer. And some of you may know her husband, Dr. Anand Popley, who's the medical director of Porter Stark. And then I see Subir Bandyopadhyay, visiting Rotarian. He's actually president of Subir, which club, Highland?
Munster
Munster.
Club.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you all for joining us. Any other guests or visiting Rotarians? No? All right, we will go to Sergeant at Arms. Is Rob Morith with us today? If not, do we have any good news for today?
I'll start. So I'm born and raised in Stockholm, Sweden. So my first language is Swedish. So my wife, who's an American, has now started to take Swedish lessons. So good news for us. But Swedish is not very practical. It's quite useless. But anyway, so she's now yeah, I think 98%. We're second in the world, I think, in terms of English speaking nation. But anyway, I think that's good news.
That is great news. Good for her. Wonderful. Anyone else? Mark?
I've got good news. So this past Saturday, we had the 80th meeting of Butler Valpo football. And I'm proud to say that we did win, and we did bring the Hoosier helmet. There's a trophy for that game. And the Hoosier helmet is back in Valpo where it belongs. So that is good news.
That is good news. Jim?
Yeah, I heard this morning they unstuck that big ship from the Suez Canal, so now we can get our coffee.
That is good news. All right.
I have
Don't
one
wanna
too.
miss-
So we are very fortunate here at East Porter County Schools that Couch will be representing our area in the state finals this weekend.
Yes, that's awesome.
The
Good luck.
difficulty is there's not enough tickets.
Yes, good luck. Right. Anyone else? No? All right. Well, in order to give Congressman as much time as possible, I will turn it over to Stu for the introduction. Stu?
Thank you, Don. US Representative Frank Mrvan has had a pretty interesting first month or so in Congress. He's a Democrat from Highland. He took over after Pete Visklosky served our first congressional district for 36 years. We did a little checking with Frank's staff, and we found that he's actually only the fourth congressman that the first congressional district has had in 44 years. We are delighted that he was able to join us today, and I would like to kind of reach out a little bit and say thank you to Elizabeth Johnson and to Alex Rodriguez, his staff members who have served our district for years. Thanks, Frank, for letting your staff set this up. And your bio has been sent out by email to everybody twice, so I'm not going to waste your time by reading it. And we'd like to turn this over to you now. Thank you very much for coming.
Stu, I thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity.
Frank, I think you.
Are we good to go?
Should be good.
Are we good? All right.
Yes, we're good.
Okay, so I want to wish everyone a happy birthday for the 100th anniversary. That is quite an accomplishment. I have spent some time at the Highland Rotary and the Munster Rotary. I know how to ring the bell and tell a good story in the country, and the importance and the quality of life that you put your deeds towards in the community, and how you cross sections and you invite visitors, each one. It's always very interesting to me. I have been a member of Congress for 4 months. It has been quite eventful. We've been through an insurrection. We've been through the impeachment. We've been through the inaugural of a new president, and we've been through a pandemic. And with that, it still solidifies why I ran for Congress. I ran for Congress because I want to bring like-minded individuals together to solve problems, and to be a voice of reason, and to make sure that we attack and as a district, as a state, and as a nation, work on making sure we have access to healthcare, making sure we have access to the programming and the investments necessary so that private businesses can thrive, and to make sure that we're getting workers back working through this pandemic, and small businesses. Since I've been in Congress, we have moved very diligently. I am co-chair of the Steel Caucus. I am also on the Education and Labor and Health Committee. I am also a chairman of Technology Modernization for the Veterans Affairs Committee, which is in charge of making sure that the electronic medical records for all veterans across the nation are updated, along with linking them to the Department of Defense, and making sure that we provide the best quality of care for our veterans going forward. That is something with my bio for the last 15 years, I served as a township trustee in North Township. We did a lot of work with veteran service organizations, because Wicker Park here in Highland, Indiana, or in the town in North Township, was dedicated to veterans. So we made sure we were accessible to veterans. We also were put forth a letter from the Steel Caucus to the President Biden administration supporting the 232 steel tariffs. which enables us to be competitive against global markets and subsidized steel being dumped in our community. And that is something that we were a leader on. We've also testified before the International Trade Commission twice. We passed the PRO Act, and I also supported and implemented the American Rescue Plan as it was being signed into law. Personally, I kind of want to talk about myself. I have two daughters. I don't know if this is on the bio or not. Genevieve, who is a senior in high school, she's 18, and Scarlett, who is 14. Two very independently strong-willed young girls. They're the opposite sisters. I also married my high school sweetheart, Jane. We started dating when I was 16. We've been married 25 years this year. I'm 52, so more than the majority of my life, I've been with my spouse. Also, my father has served in the Indiana State Senate for 40 years, and he's a Democrat, but also has had that same approach of building bridges and making sure that we work together to solve problems, no matter what party you are from. I wanted to also take this time to highlight the American Rescue Plan. In general, you know, it was $20 billion for a coordinated national vaccine effort. It also was $130 billion for schools to open up safely. There are $1,400 checks for individuals and families, for individuals making less than $75,000 and couples making less than $150,000. It also provided a subsidy for COBRA extensions. And I would also emphasize that the rescue plan had a lot of implications, but about a week ago on Saturday at Calumet High School, which is just outside of Gary, Indiana, they were able to vaccinate over 2,300 people. And that going forward is what is important as we are talking about getting back to the Rotary meeting in person. There's that value of that human touch and making sure that we're connected. And the more people who are vaccinated, the more normalcy we will get to. Obviously, we are going to evolve and always wonder what next when it comes to the science and when it comes to the CDC. But for the most part, our healthcare providers, the CDC, and the vaccines, along with the United States federal government, are providing the absolute resources that are necessary for individuals to get vaccinated and to move forward through this pandemic. And with all of that, we still have work to do. Our next step of what we're working on in the US Congress is the infrastructure bill. We have bipartisan support, making sure that our roads, our bridges, our waterways, our dams are being rebuilt. I, of course, am emphasizing and pushing for a Buy American provision to make sure that our manufacturing base goes without being disrupted, puts workers back to work, and going forward in our future with the infrastructure bill, emphasizing that when we use public dollars, we also are buying American and using American products. And I think that's vital. And I have consistently said what I have learned and what I believe in my heart is a part of the many reasons that our nation is divided is that workers feel that they may be or they are being left behind with future agendas. And as we go forward, we have to make sure that we include our workers. We also passed a piece of legislation that was our apprenticeship program for 2021, making sure that we emphasize apprenticeship programs and labor unions and trades so that there are workers to fill positions as people are retiring, and that there's equal access for all of our communities within the trades. And so that was one piece of legislation that I was proud to absolutely support. And local projects. I want to emphasize this, working together with Senator Young, Senator Braun, and Congressman Visklowski that Stu mentioned. He had been there almost 4 decades, and he did it because he had a common sense approach that brought people together to solve issues, to solve challenges, and to get to the other side. And those are the same approaches that I have. So working with Senator Braun and Senator Young and Governor Holcomb, the state legislature and local communities for the double tracking of the Amtrak and making sure that the extension of the South Shore, all of that project is historically one of the largest infrastructure bills the state of Indiana has ever had. And it's going on right in our backyard. Not only will it get people working and getting families back on track, no pun intended, but it also creates transit-oriented development areas for businesses to invest at a rate, a tax incentive to invest in those areas to get private businesses to create jobs, because that's what this is all about. Not only will that increase our property values, but it also will create jobs and allow the private sector to do what they do best, to invest, to create jobs, to create services and goods along that path, so that we as a community and as a district and as a region can thrive. I really want to talk about the bipartisan approach, and I say that because it's important. One of the issues that many different groups are talking about, and I believe it brings us together, is the digital divide. So on Veteran Affairs, I am the chairman of Technology Modernization. We've spent countless hours talking about access for veterans in rural areas throughout the nation to make sure that they can adapt to the telehealth and telemental health approaches that the VA and other clinics are going towards, because access is so very important. This pandemic has honed in, if you want to make lemonade out of lemons, telehealth and telemental health is giving access to people. So in rural areas, when people have to drive 140 miles or 160 miles to get to a clinic, this is a life-changing event. And so what I had an opportunity to sit down and talk to Congressman Pence from Indiana for 2 hours. We met. And what we talked about is how rural America is really focused on closing the gap with the digital divide and making sure people have access to technology. Also, the older urban areas are also looking to make sure, and even in the suburban areas and the school districts, if being prepared going forward, making sure that when we go to e-learning, that children have access to e-learning. And that was a real issue. And so those are things that we are constantly working on in a bipartisan approach. And at this time, I would look forward to answering any questions that anyone may have and talk about any issues. And more importantly, I really like to learn on what's important or what's going on in your community. And I want to wish the Couts basketball team good luck. I played basketball at Morton High School. We were average at best, but when any region team makes it to the state finals, I want to be very proudful. We all walk with a little bit more pride, and I'll turn into the Indiana High School Association to make sure that I'm catching the scores. So I would be happy to answer any questions you may have, and I look forward to speaking with you.
Frank, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I'm Jim Burns. I'm the Executive Director of Family Focus. We've been around about 32 years. We work with families in the homes to prevent child abuse and neglect. About 90% of our referrals come from Child Protective Services. We have a contract with the state of Indiana to do those services. And what I've consulted Senator Talley, but she hasn't answered me yet, but she had a meeting with Director Stignan last week. Providers in Indiana have not had an increase in unit rates, which is their hours of service with families, what we get per hour, and it's been nearly 7 years. And as a director, we all know, and as a business owner, you would all know that the cost of doing business continues to go up. The cost of health insurance goes up for employees, mileage, et cetera, and other benefits for employees. So I'm kind of advocating for the providers of Indiana that we could get an increase in unit rate. DCS is allocated money by the state for their department. They don't always, and we work well together, but they don't always be transparent with providers they have so much of the money they need for their retention issues and so on and so forth. But we also need those funds to, to grow and not have to lay off people and service the families that are really in need.
Jim, first I want to thank you for what you do for families and kind of give you a little bit of history of what I've done in the past. As a North Township trustee, one of the most vulnerable populations in our community came for assistance, and I represented Hammond, Whiting, East Chicago, Highland, Munster, and Whiting for 15 years. One of the projects that we worked on, and I'm going to come full circle, was our No More Secrets campaign. I had mentioned my wife, Jane. She's actually a survivor of child sexual abuse, and her sister, Kelly, was a survivor also, who is no longer with us. She turned to opiates and left 3 children behind based on the trauma that happened to her as a child. With that, every single day, we have lived and have impacted our lives. And so we utilized my office as a North Township trustee, where we worked with the school systems throughout the township, through Lake County and throughout the state of Indiana, to develop a curriculum for abused children, or a curriculum to go into the schools to talk about how predators push boundaries, how predators will tell you to keep things a secret, and how children should identify that. And we worked with the Indiana Education Board to have a curriculum for all school systems across the United States. And as we did that, we talked to 12,000 young people, and we partnered up with Child Protective Services. And I bring that up because 73 young people came forward, and we were able to get them the help that they needed at an early age, as far as therapy, and in some instances, get them out of that situation. And we used the data of the 73 young people coming forward to go to the state legislature, where my father sponsored a bill where it is a requirement for an hour within each school district to talk about how predators push boundaries, or safety and health for young children against child molestation, computer safety, and phone safety. And why I bring that up is because that elevated me to where I sat on a board with Child Protective Services, where we substantiated and heard cases and talked about the current status of Child Protective Services. So there is no more valuable issue to me as far as protecting children. And in Congress, we had just passed, the rescue plan included that, and we are also passing, which I am a co-sponsor of, a child protection plan that enables more dollars to go to the states. Because when the schools close down, believe it or not, that is a safe place for children to go. It also is an identifying place where social workers, teachers, administrators will identify children who may be at risk. And so the number of children that have gotten help, or in the future that are going to be reported, because I just talked to Child Protective Services, Ellis Dumas in our area, Jim, recently, and talked to him about what, the current status of what's going on. So those dollars are being allocated to the state, and I'm going to wear a couple different hats. When you talk about Senator Talion, obviously you're talking about reimbursements that the state of Indiana is making. I can speak to my father, and also we can advocate to make sure that those are adjustable, to make sure that we're protecting kids, and the non-for-profits that are on the front lines doing that every single day are justifiably being reimbursed as costs are going up.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we work in 12 Indiana counties, so including Lake County, and we've utilized the trustee's office there and services there. So there's abundance of resources that we've used. But what's happened with the pandemic now is a growing educational neglect factor, where parents are not sending their kids to their lessons, or not being low functioning and not being able to help the kids, and so it's gotten pretty serious. So,
and Jim, I think another committee, that education gap that you're talking about, the education gap that has been consistent with the pandemic, of not having access to digital divide or neglect. You and I know what we're talking about, but for everyone else with the Rotary, there are some parents who aren't forcing their children to go online, or they're working and the children aren't going online for school of those systems that were mandated to be e-learning. And so that falls under Child Protective Services to make sure that their child is getting a proper education because of chronic absenteeism. So we are discussing that on a federal level, but what I want you to know is you have an advocate and a partner as a member of Congress that is looking out for those issues and making sure that those programs are properly funded through our federal dollars.
Thank you, service. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Jim.
Congressman,
Yes.
as you know, one of the most important law enforcement positions is the appointment of the new U.S. attorney. It's my understanding that because of your party affiliation with the administration, you're going to be designated as an important resource to identify that person. When do you think that person will be identified? And you have any idea when the Senate might move forward with the appointment?
Yes, sir. That's a great question. So one of my partners with that No More Secret campaign was David Kapp, the U.S. District Attorney. So I worked firsthand with him. Obviously, Thomas Kirsch was appointed to the Seventh Circuit, which is a great accomplishment. And what in a bipartisan approach, Senator Young is still the lead senator in Indiana and the dean of the Senate for the two senators. And so we are going to sit down on April 15th because I want to make sure that that person is qualified, experienced, and has Northwest Indiana, the integrity and above approach choice. I take that job very seriously, and any recommendation that I make to Senator Young, I want to make sure that we're on the same page, and ultimately that we are working together in a bipartisan effort to protect all of us and to have a standout U.S. District Attorney in that position, no matter from. And I want to go on record as saying this, no matter from what party they are from, what county they are from, but just making sure that they have the experience, the prosecutorial experience, and also the integrity and the law enforcement experience to be able to be in that position.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congressman, I have a question, and you ask what's going on in our area, our community. So just within my inner circle, I have a cousin who has been a successful restaurant owner for 25 years, and now she's experiencing difficulty in maintaining employees. And I also have a friend who owns a chain of many gas stations, convenience stores in several counties. And he said last week or whenever the checks came out to help families that he lost 50 employees immediately, saying now they don't have to work. So I don't know if this is a good thing that people now can take off work for a period of time, or is this an unintended consequence of the subsidy checks? And what would you say to these employers that are experiencing this?
So I believe during the first round, there was the same narrative that was going on with the $600 per week or per month incentive. So doing nothing has an enormous opportunity cost. And so the families that absolutely need this is something that is vital to us. So to your cousin who's owned a restaurant for 25 years and to the gas station chains, during the pandemic, those individuals put themselves at risk. As you mentioned, the intentions are not to cut down the workforce. The intentions are to stimulate the economy, to pay bills, to assist yourself, and to be able to rise up the economy. And so to directly, what I would say to them is that hopefully immediately, that will change. We're not trying to develop a lazy or non-working workforce that's dependent upon government. Our intentions are to stimulate the economy so that people can buy gas, so that they can buy cars, so that they can pay their rent, so that they could do things that stimulates the economy based on what has happened and people who have not worked or have been on work stoppages or disruptions. So ultimately, my message to them is that I believe that in real time, hopefully those employees will get back to work. and I know, and I don't know if I'm articulating it, but there's also been assistance to, this is a big bridge, but making sure that we're developing workforces to make sure that we're preparing people for jobs. And that's always been a priority of mine. But to negate the fact that 50 employees from the chain of gas stations quit because they received a $1,400 check, that's short-sighted thinking. Even at let's say $10 an hour, that's 1 month's pay or approximately 2 months' pay. So ultimately, I believe the economy will catch up. But I do not believe so. And here's something else I want to say. As a North Township trustee, we provided emergency assistance for 15 years. For 15 years. So that's just not now. And what we did is we held people accountable. We made sure that they were working. We made sure that they worked off anything that they received for utilities, for rent, for food, for shelter. So I am all about holding people accountable and making sure that our workforce is working for everything that they're earning. And I've proven that.
They also get a check for each family member?
They do. For children because of childcare. So it could be a family of 4 would receive 14 times 4 to do the math, 5,600.
Okay, thank you.
I guess what we can also talk about is, as I mentioned, the South Shore and the extension of the South Shore. Just wanted to get your views on that project and what the Rotary Club or individuals that are joining us today, just their perspective on that future development. If anyone wants to add to that.
Mr. Mrvan, are they using eminent domain to make way for this railway?
I believe that the majority of the property follows the track, the existing tracks right now that they're double tracking. I don't know if eminent domain has been a tool that has been employed yet. NICD is handling all of that, but that has not been an issue that has came up to my desk or to me as of yet.
Thank you.
Congressman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Did you bring Alex with you? Alex?
Alex?
Yeah.
I can. Yes.
Okay. Anyway, my granddaughter's been dating him, keeping him busy.
Yes.
So he's been to my house. I know him.
Yes.
I hear great things about you.
Well, Alex and I have been together for a while. He obviously grew up in Hammond, but he went to Hast Academy and he went to Butler. Unfortunately, they just lost to Valparaiso. But he has worked at Indiana Township as a township trustee. He worked summers with me, and now he's in Washington, D.C. as my scheduler. He has the hardest job because the schedule is always changing. And but he handles it with great grace, and he is a true gentleman, and he's a security blanket for me. He keeps things calm and moving in the right direction. Huh. So is your son the financial planner?
Yes, he's of Sue, my wife's son. Yeah.
Yes. So,
son-in-law.
Yes, I've heard a lot, and they're a great family also.
Yeah. Yeah. They are. So they've been good. He's been here and helped me out already. I needed it. I did. Labor helped me. I didn't pay him though.
Well, that's how that should work.
We gave him cookies instead.
Cookies are the key to everyone's heart.
Yeah, it works here.
Yes.
I got a question for another one. It's not local, so I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but there's a great big, lot of concern about gun thing, about what Biden wants to do, take the guns and whatever. So there's a lot of concern about that and people talking. So I don't know where you are on that because you're going to get a chance to deal with it.
Absolutely. First and foremost, I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe people and sportsmen have the right to own guns. I don't want to take anyone's guns away. I do believe closing the background check loophole that we did in Congress is extremely important. And going forward, as things developed, we had 2 mass shootings within 2 weeks. So that has heightened the debate and also the awareness. It seemed during the pandemic that had came that we didn't have a lot of those. And there are shootings, throughout the country every single day. And I'm aware of that. I live right next door to the city of Chicago. I see the news. I know what's going on. But my approach towards gun control is a common sense approach. And as any pieces of legislation come forward on the ban of assault weapons or the ban on certain magazines that move at a faster clip or the bump stock, as that goes forward, I'll evaluate it and make sure that, again, I believe in the Second Amendment, but I want to make sure that we have a common sense gun safety approach in our nation.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Frank, this is Stu again. If we've got a minute, can you tell us what the rumblings are in the Capitol Hill about changes to the tax code?
So the rumblings so far are that the Biden administration is looking at a top 1% tax increase for those individuals who receive the tax cut. I don't know where that is. It hasn't been proposed yet. So when we talk about the infrastructure bill, they're talking about ways to fund the infrastructure bill, correct? And so that is one of the measures that they're looking at in the amount of revenue that it generates. There are other ways that they're talking about with the infrastructure bill. And so nothing is solidified yet. And with the Senate being so very close, I believe that that'll be worked out there. And on the House side, we will take a look at the current proposal as we're supposed to get the budget proposal this week, which I would imagine will increase or will have the taxes and everything that is included in there. So the rumblings are people are talking about it, but nothing has been solidified yet as far as a proposed piece of legislation.
Do you ever feel your hands are tied to your, when it comes to your personal beliefs? Because in the bills, they combine so many things and then you're expected to vote because you're a certain party. You're expected to vote on that bill and it just seems so confusing.
Yeah, Debbie. So what goes on every single day is there's no perfect piece of legislation. And you have to look at the greater good of those pieces of legislation. So there have been moments that I have dove extremely deep into issues to make sure I have a full understanding of them before I vote for them. And so I'm going to specifically talk about the George Floyd Act, the Policing Reform Act. One of the pieces of legislation within that bill, which also it dealt with the chokehold, it dealt with bias training, it dealt with the National Registry of Policemen who have infractions. There were many different layers in that, but it also dealt with qualified immunity. And so I actually talked to a couple different lawyers and police chiefs and individuals that explained to me that there was a Supreme Court ruling where Justice Thomas actually stated that it is currently a loop because qualified immunity, the individual police and policemen isn't open up for liability, but towns and cities and states are when policemen act outside the law. And so what I was able to understand through legal consultation and studying things is that because qualified immunity, it is designed that there has to be a precedent piece of court rulings that would match that act. So very often there aren't precedents. So if you're going to restructure how that is going to work, and give guidelines to police departments and guidelines to communities on how things are going to have to work, you have to restructure that based on what the Supreme Court came down. So to answer your question, there are times where a piece of legislation isn't perfect in my eyes, but I have to vote for the overwhelmingly best, all the different choices that come around. And to hone in, you use the word my beliefs. I'm always going to vote for what I believe in. And as we get to know each other, I can express that because I'm affiliated with one party or another party, I'm not going to deviate away from who I am. But there are a lot of difficult choices to be made to make sure that my common sense approach and the best whole piece of legislation that I can get out of a bill is what I'm thriving for every single day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, if nobody else has a question, I want to ask, did you ever have a day when you're like, what did I get myself into?
You know what? Yeah, of course I have. It's been an interesting, even for someone who's been around it my whole life and fought hard to get there, went to a 14-person primary, a pretty tough general election. You leave your family and you know what you sign up for, but I'm going to be honest with you. The division, believe it or not, even though I believe I'm a seasoned elected official, the division in our nation that we first faced when we got there was shocking. It was shocking to me. And but I believe that, through time, the 4 months, I've sat down with Congressman Pence. I've sat down with Congressman Sparks. I'm going to be sitting down with Senator Young. I believe that overall, everyone wants what's best for the state of Indiana. And so absolutely, there have been times throughout the whole process that it's just so overwhelming as far as the division and making sure that you want to get through all of the noise of the different bases or the different agendas and make sure that you're governing for the best possible way of the nation. And so you just gotta kind of clear your mind and make sure that you focus on those things and have deliverables. The most important aspect of my job is making sure that I deliver to the 1st Congressional District, to Valparaiso, the surrounding areas, Lake County, Porter County, LaPorte County, and the state of Indiana. When it comes to our health, when it comes to our economic our survival and our economic ability to thrive, and a lot of tough choices. So let's just today at a Rotary, what we've talked about: gun control, taxes on the rich, infrastructure, voting your conscience when your party, which is my interpretation of that, is how difficult it is sometimes to make choices and most importantly, to find the truth in everything that's going on. So I take my job very seriously. I enjoy it, but yes, of course, it's going to be overwhelming, just as it is for everyone else.
Just wanted to say thank you for coming today. And hopefully, I know this week I've heard you visiting a lot of different places in Valparaiso. People have told me, and maybe we'll see you in person soon. Maybe at the library garden ribbon cutting too, maybe.
Stu had included that in the email. I believe it's May 12th, correct?
Yes.
We're going to do, if we are in town and we are capable, I will be standing right next to you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so very much, Congressman. We appreciate your time, your dialogue with us, answering questions and concerns that we have. So we very much, again, appreciate you and your service and your time with us today.
And I just want to emphasize, this is also the beginning. If we have our office, which the phone number is 795-1844. If I or my staff can be of any assistance to any member or any constituent at any time, please give us a call with anything federal or any way we can direct state and local agencies. Please include us. And so this is vital time for me, being able to stay in contact with my voters and with my constituents is extremely important. And so going forward, if you have any questions, please reach out to us. And I do look forward to the time where we're able to meet in person. And I appreciate this opportunity to speak about the things that we've accomplished over the last 4 months and to continue working forward with everyone.
Yes, thank you. It's always nice. We appreciate that phone number. It's always nice to know there is somebody willing to listen to us. So thank you.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day. Enjoy the sunshine, and everyone have a wonderful holiday coming up.
You too. And we are going to donate a children's book to the Valparaiso Public Library in your name for our appreciation for you being here today.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everyone. I would like to close the meeting today with our four-way test. Please recite it with me. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. Have a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy.